Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on the YouTube account. And before we get into the top 5 hypo heroes that we have, I do want to share a picture. Now this one actually came up from Dolly's Corner. This is a picture which a lot of players are saying it is going to be a new hypo hero that we're going to be getting shortly. But a lot of players are also saying this is the awakened version of Khazard, which both of them sound really cool. And honestly, this picture looks kind of crazy and really crazy cool. When you look at it, almost looks like it's wings, or those could be even like dragons. Almost looks like maybe it's dragons in there, like these are the bottoms or the tails, that they're kind of intertwined in front of this guy. We're gonna have to see exactly what it looks like, but again, a lot of players were saying possibly could be the awakened version of Khazard, which I think would be kind of crazy. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get into this. Now we are looking at the top 5 hypo heroes that are not awakened. So this is excluding Eugene, Matria, and also that awakened version of Aziz. Now I don't think that it's going to be an awakened Khazard, but I think it is going to be a hypo hero, but it is yet to be seen exactly what we're getting. So looking in here, number 1 is, of course, without a doubt, Lavaun. Now, Lavaun, of course, one of the probably strongest support heroes that we've seen in the recent updates. We've seen a lot from the Light Bearers. We've seen some in the Celestials. But overall, when it comes to the hypos, he is just absolutely devastating. When you look at game modes, he is utilized in every single game mode. Really cool breakdown here. Sound waves from the ultimate skill, Inferno Echo, deal torrent metal effects to allies and deal death metal effects to enemies with that plus 30 signature item. Now, overall, a lot of players are building him to a 40. Now, he is one of the very first support heroes that we're seeing, short of like a Liberta. That is actually, that is recommended, or players are building up to a 40. Then we're looking at 9 of 9 furniture on him, of course. When performing the opening act, Lavaun summons a stage. The damage buff for the ultimate skill provided by the stage is increased while opening act is being played, which I believe it plays for 15 seconds if I remember it from the Poetic Pop quiz. But overall, you're going to have a really big buff. Now, when it comes to the burst comps, when it comes to even Nightmare Corridor, absolutely a requirement. But also when it comes to the Treasure Scramble, when it comes to the Curse Realm, absolutely being used in all of those. For engraving on him, they're taking him to 66. You can see we went a little bit higher with the 67 right here. But when you look at the ability to buff up haste, you have insight, and then you do have attack in there, makes him just that much stronger. A lot of the abilities that he possesses are based on that attack. Building him out with the attack does make a big difference. And also with that, he looks absolutely amazing, which I think with that picture from the beginning, it might be kind of crazy. But Lavaun absolutely coming in at number 1. And then, of course, we have Lucilla. When it comes to probably one of the most popular heroes that people are loving within AFK Arena, Lucilla really does fit that bill. Now, overall, we're seeing Lucilla Liberta run in formations together, which we might eventually seen with Gavis and Eugene. But overall, this hero is used in a ton of different places. She's incredibly hard to kill. So, of course, that is a huge plus for PvP. And she has a lot of protections, does a decent amount of damage. So as a support hero, she kind of fits the bill with a bunch of different roles. Now, looking at this hero, plus 30 is where you want to get the signature item. Within the domain, Lucilla's silhouette will periodically appear and use normal attacks to deal damage. Now, that is something to remember because we have heroes like Aethys that buff normal attacks. With the plus 40 signature item, it is going to buff it by 90%. And then, of course, the plus 40 in here increases damage from normal attacks from Lucilla and the silhouette, which could be a game-changing difference. But overall, we're not quite seeing as high of an impact in here when it comes to building out Lucilla. Now, looking at this, the 9 of 9 furniture, absolutely. Every time she takes damage, her silhouette will appear and use full moon. Again, when you look at the multitude of times that you do have to kill her, being able to do a lot more damage through here is going to work incredibly well. And this hero is going right to a 60 engraving as well. Number of resurrections is increased to 2. That is right. She can live, or she can live, she can die, then she can be there, she can die again. When fighting aside Liberta, resurrections are increased to 3. So now you have to kill the hero 3 times, which is kind of crazy. And when Liberta is about to take fatal damage, she will step up and use one of her resurrections to block the damage, granting him immunity. So we have the strongest hero within AFK Arena, which is Liberta, protected by Lucilla. And if he does happen to take that burst damage, this is actually going to give him an immunity to all damage and control effects for 4 seconds. Absolutely, if you want a hero to live like Liberta, which you 100% do, it is building out Lucilla to work incredibly well, definitely dropping her into that number 2 slot. Now, number 3, utility-wise, we're going to look at Olgath. Now, Olgath, of course, one of the Rangers and one of the very few Rangers, unfortunately, that we're seeing with a lot of utility right now. We're still seeing him in a couple different formations, of course, for the burst damage. Looking at the plus 30 signature item, if an Infernal Shot is unable to deal damage, so if there's immunity, Death Knell will regain all consumed shells. That is right. Again, we've seen this a lot with the Matria comp, but we're also seeing him run right now in the Cursed Realm of the Nightmare Corridor. Also seeing him run in some of those Treasure Scramble teams, working incredibly well. And because he is a damage dealer, 9 of 9 furniture in here, Death Knell will be loaded with 3 of each type of shells. So the Death Knell becomes fully loaded with the 9 of 9 furniture when you start the battle, which is awesome to see. Then, of course, the plus 60 the plus 60 engraving is where you do want to see this. So Cataclysmic Roar dispels any control effects affecting Olgath and causes Olgath to go immune. Again, PvP aspect, that is absolutely huge because if he gets crowd controlled, it is going to negate the crowd control with the 60, making it big. Now, in addition, with him being a damage dealing hero, the more that you build him out, the better he is going to perform, just because you're actually adding stats on top of stats when you're building out Olgath, again, making it super effective to raise the stat and raise the percentages that we have through the engraving. That way he can do more damage in all of those combinations. The next hero we look at, of course, Kasha Ruk. Now, Kasha Ruk was doing incredibly well, dropped out a little bit, came back quite a bit with that awakened version of Shemira, especially in the PvP aspect, because the disintegration of energy is, of course, going to trigger the awakened version of Shemira, so works incredibly well. Before this hero, plus 30 signature item, Howl of Fury and Chains of Fire can also chain enemies, which is awesome. Anytime that you can provide the crowd control, not only increases the survivability for the entire team, but it also increases the survivability of Kasha and Ruk themselves. Looking at the furniture, 9 of 9 is a absolute must. The Kasha attacks reduce the target's energy. This, again, if the enemy can't ult, especially in a PvP formation, you're going to have a huge mitigation factor in there. And you can also look, Ruk's attack heal Kasha and Ruk for 35% of the damage they deal, up to 300% of the attack rating. So now you have crowd control, now you have energy disintegration, and you also do have a heal in here, which is awesome to see. For the engraving, 30 is really all that you need. So building Kasha and Ruk up to the 30 is going to give a huge buff. Now, of course, if you have Kasha and Ruk below the plus 30 engraving, most of the time they will die out pretty quick. This is huge because once they take the fatal damage, so once you kill them, attack goes up to 45%, defense goes up to 45%, which lasts for the rest of battle. So you're getting a 45% attack and defense rating buff, which is awesome if you can get it all the way to 45. It makes this hero super, super hard and super difficult to build. Definitely the reason they're coming in at number 4. And the final one that we're looking at here is Mortis. Now, Mortis, of course, basic build on Mortis, you just have to have them built up to Mythic to get the signature item. Now, for the signature item, plus 20 is all that they are recommending. You can build them, again, a little bit higher, which we did, just for the fact of the survivability. But as a buffer, Mortis will buff essentially 4 heroes, and then Mortis will die most of the time because they don't have the survivability with the hero. And if they die, it doesn't really make a big difference. Now, I did the furniture on here. I did the engraving again, just kind of to overbuild the hero. It's not required by any means. But again, when you look at survivability issues is when we were going through the Cursed Realm and the Nightmare Corridor, if Mortis was dying out in the first 5, 7, 9 seconds, he didn't have the ability to actually buff everyone. So if you're having issues with this hero dying out in its entirety, make sure you're buffing up Mortis a little bit further. That way, again, not really putting a lot of cost behind him or a lot of resources behind him, but overall the buffs do make a big difference. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for the breakdown of the top 5 Hypo heroes. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of that new picture. And as always, thank you guys for watching.